Hello, everyone, and today you're allowed to laugh allegedly because it is Red Nose Day, St. Patrick's Day, and Guinness Day. Who's a patron saint of Ireland, and Guinness is an Irish drink, and I tell you now, I'm not getting paid for this advertisement, but it's at £2.99 a pint of Guinness in Wetherspoons today. Allegedly, I got a notification from them earlier in the week. So hello,
Yeah,
Daphne.
so
How are you?
hello, Chris. Great. I'm looking forward to this funny one, funny
Oh,
episode of humor and
yes.
our relation to it.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
whether St. Patrick has anything to do with humor, but it's Red Nose Day today. So that's the other reason why we have this topic on today. My
yes,
red nose.
and initially, I think the question needs to start off with why is I mean, Red Nose Day is all about getting people who are comedians and funny kind of
Talk.
situations and bits and pieces, getting some actors to be a bit stupid, etc., in order to raise money for charity, and we're going
It's
to
not just them people, it's everybody. Even school children do that.
what's that? Raise charity money
They
or
raise money for Red Nose Day. They buy a red nose or a top or shirt or trousers or something. There's lots of merchandise that you can buy, and then obviously you watch TV where people do funny things. This is what this is all about
okay? Well, you would know about
on
this
the
being
surface.
a school teacher and having to comply with these regulations or controls, i.e., you will do this today and you will participate and you will all a little bit organised and uh, contrived, in my opinion. He says with a smiling face. Anyway, um, anyway, humour. Why? What's going on with humour? I basically at a very early age, I realised that making people laugh basically made you fairly popular. Now, I'm not a comedian or anything else, but if you've got a fast brain, you can conjure up amusing things to say, which basically make people laugh. And I made a link, which is people who make people laugh generally. People like to be around those people because it brightens up their day. Oh, I'm going to go and meet up with Chris or have a drink with Chris because we have a
Well,
good
have
time.
some laugh.
We have a
Mm.
good time. I'm not saying that was always the case, by the way, but I worked it out that in general, people who were funny or amusing were good people to be around. They were nice, and I think, and certainly for a male, if you then that there are lots of genders, by the way, it's about 100 of them now, but I identify with being a man. Hope that goes down well, but but I realised that if you could get a girl or someone you quite fancied to laugh, you stood a good chance of because women generally they like to be entertained. I think they like to be, I mean, I'm saying that from my perspective. If you've got a different opinion, that's entirely up to you. But that's just what I basically discovered as a young guy growing up that women like to be entertained in some way, and there are lots of ways to do that. But I found humour fairly easy to do, and I think partially that was table tennis did that because table tennis people they are the most brutal when it comes to taking the piss out of other people. They are gold medalists at it, right? and this joking with sarcasm was a big thing, and it still is, I'm sure. But anyway, so humour, what does it do for you? I mean, everyone wants to laugh, don't they? It seems like everyone wants to laugh, and it's difficult in these current climates to laugh with all the nonsense that's going on and all the problems that are being experienced by people. Hard to get a laugh out of some people when it's depressing.
Yeah, and it's sometimes we actually say truths with humor. We can't say them in any other way, but we can say them with humor,
Yeah, many a truth spoken in jest is
spoken
the
in
word.
jest. Yeah.
and You know,
And it's interesting how when somebody says something as a joke, we accept it. We may we may decide to look into that thing that they're saying. It might be something about us or about our opinion about some events, whatever it is. So when we have this lightheartedness of humor, it's as if there is no criticism, there is no blame, there's no anything else attached personally as an attack to us. So we tend to open up and to listen more carefully and to be more what's that word? Perceptive, not perceptive, but accepting and honoring of that what people are saying. So interesting thing this about humor. It's one thing to be entertained, but it's also to share things which you are not comfortable to share in any other way.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, Ricky
we
Gervais, and we were talking about this earlier. Ricky Gervais at the Oscar Awards, okay, he's done it 5 times, right? And on every occasion, he absolutely slaughters the audience with truths, i.e., paedophilia, their connection with it, people that have been, that have died, whether it was a suicide or otherwise. Like basically, they're all in there, basically, and he's saying you're all perverts. You are all in this in this thing that everybody decries as total obscenity, really. And all of you lot are basically in it, and they're all laughing, right? They're all laughing. And why are they laughing? Well, they're laughing
why are they
because
not saying, "Oh, I'm gonna now start I'll take you
to
to
you.
court. I'm gonna sue you. You are a bad person and disgraceful." And no, no, no. They don't.
Well,
They invite him over and over again.
yeah, and in fact, this year's Oscar awards, the guy that did it was basically rubbish, and they're thinking of suing him for being so rubbish, and they're basically saying, "Ricky Gervais, come back. Yeah, we need some more insults."
There you go, laughing our heads off.
Yeah, and it's like, and the thing is, right? They know he's only joking, right? But deep down, they also know he isn't joking. And they know he's not joking, but he's doing it in a jokey way. So they can't say, "Oh, you can imagine taking Ricky Gervais to court and saying, 'Oh, he called us a paedophile.'" It's like, yeah, but he was only joking.
Yeah.
Right? He wouldn't stand up in a court. "Oh, I paid to insult you. What's the matter with you? You know, you keep inviting me back." You
So
know,
something's happened. That something's happened in this particular department of humor.
but like,
Now it's like as if it's a double negative or something,
no,
where a double negative in language kind of becomes a positive.
it's a
In
double
this way, it's like,
entendre. It's called a double entendre because basically, I'm not joking, but I'm doing it in a jokey way. I know that you really know that this isn't a joke, but but you're laughing because because we all know what game's going on here, and we're using humour to disguise it.
so humor's being hijacked.
Well, no, it's always this kind of humor has always been around. Okay, it's just an extreme example at the Oscars where everybody watches Ricky Gervais because they like to see these people who think they are, like he says, don't come up here and accept your award and start preaching to people. We know you're all perverts and you have no right to come up here and claim higher ground when you're absolute lowlife.
It's like self-flagellation. This is it's so, but in a funny way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely bizarre.
But like, what does humour actually do for us? Like, and there's a saying in English, "Oh, come on, lighten up." Often used in inappropriate circumstances, however, but it does mean lighten up. What does that mean? Well, shine a bit brighter. Stop being so dismal and dark, and have some amusement because it is
Hmm.
totally recognised that humour humor and that's why it's so popular, isn't it? That's why comedians are so popular, is because they brighten up the day.
They raise your vibration from the despair and fear, and you kind of forget about these things, and you start raising up a little bit more of an excitement in your heart energy.
Yeah,
So,
and like, this is the now, and this is funny, and this is amusing, and you're enjoying yourself. Yeah, what all the other depressing stuff which normally fills your mind, you can come to that later on if you want. But right now, right here,
yeah,
let's like pay attention. This is funny, and this is good. This is good for you, and
this is good for you.
but people basically know that because of studies that humor actually is good for people. It is a therapy. It's
It's a
you know.
laughing yoga. There is this. I have never been to a session, but I know it's a thing. Have
Hmm.
you been to a laughing yoga?
I knew people who I still do know people who do laughing yoga, but like, I laugh enough. I don't need to be coached into laughing.
We laugh enough.
Yeah, I recognise humour is important, and I try and enjoy and deliver at the same time. It's good fun watching people laugh, and you can do it with the simplest of things by just considering the double meaning of a word, and the person who
Mm.
said that word didn't intend it that way, but you can
You
turn
mismatch the meanings, and that's what
and,
makes it funny. Yeah.
and people laugh. And that's fairly simple if you can switch into these modes fairly easily, um, and I do. However, let's talk about Red Nose Day now.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's a charitable thing, right? And we'll come on to charities in a short while, but like, Red Nose Day has gone from a bit of a joke, I think, because red nose, a bit funny. Someone's walking around with a thing attached to their nose, which, by the way, when I did do it, it did actually cause a cut in my nose for some reason. So I dispensed with that fairly quickly. But the idea is to identify with your support of this concept of a Red Nose Day, which has become a bit of an institution. And like many of these things, it gets adopted by the masses, and then basically it's spoilt. In my opinion,
Mm.
it's spoiled.
But
Um,
once it gets onto the BBC, forget about it.
yeah,
Being losing its original nice intent. It just gets corrupted.
yeah, it gets hijacked, and like, yes, it's funny. I can't be bothered to watch the TV, and I'm not sure where the money goes. There's all reports of it's going off to here and they're doing good things, but you know, how do we know? And there's so much skepticism out there these days with corruption and people basically
Mm.
laundering money, pretending to be righteous and basically doing things for the people. But in reality, they're self serving. They're just basically doing it because it's a cash cow and they can get loads of money out of it. And you might say, "Oh, of course, you're being completely, like nonsense." Well, I've seen them write checks out for X, Y, and Z. Yeah, okay, and that's a charity. And what happens in a charity? Well, most of the money gets paid to the employees. Well, I've never understood this. If you support a charity, you basically give your time and energy because you like what they're doing and you want to help them be successful at it. It's not because you want something back, i.e., getting paid for it. That's a job. That's different,
Mm.
right? And this is where my problem comes in, that something gets hijacked, like Red Nose Day. And okay, you might say, well, it spreads loads of fun and everything else. Yeah, but it's like the deeper meaning of it is lost on many people, I think. And it's like you've got to look at it with an open mind and say, what's really going on here?
Well,
And
I went on their website just quickly to mention that they say that somewhere there in their mission statement, or if there is any, I think what I ended up was the BBC version of it. So they say it's something to do with putting an end to poverty across the world. Why do we need to be involved with the world? We have enough poverty at our doorstep.
well, I mean, we're all one, okay? I have no problem with that. But how do they feel they can achieve saving poverty across the world? Like, okay, there's the very nice and glorious mission title, right? We want to stop poverty across the world. Right, how are we doing it then? Let's look
So
at.
how they do it is they invest money into local initiatives. Hopefully that is what they're doing. It's not just giving money to people, but setting them up with their own business or some kind of a business venture, some activity, some work that these people can then become self-sustainable and can carry on. Not just I'm going to give you a bit of a relief here, just breathe a little bit, and then we'll forget about it after all. We'll send you some money next year again.
Right, so basically,
I
right,
don't know how they do it,
right,
and what if this is what.
right. So what gets sent to any of these good causes is what's left,
Mm,
right? And what's left is after the BBC have been paid for their studios, after the all the people who have decided to like there'll be people there that are getting paid for doing leaflets and all sorts of things. They won't be getting those things for free, right? So it's
the
after what.
t-shirts and the noses
Yeah,
and
if someone's printing those things up and getting paid for it, right? So what's left gets sent to the good cause, which is basically they're sitting in a room one day and going, let's see who we can support here and whether there's any kickbacks or something. Well, I'm sure this is going on, right? And all the people that are performing, why are they performing? Because they believe that getting more profile, more visibility amongst the public is going to increase their potential earning capacity, right? Don't tell me that they're doing it for no publicity. Any publicity is good publicity, whether it's good or bad. It's still
yeah.
it's publicity, right? And all of this is built into this. And of course, if people are donating money, they're doing it because they don't want to be seen the one that isn't donating.
Mm. It's
Amongst
like the
all
peer
the
pressure of it.
peer pressure
Yeah.
already. Oh yeah, like you were doing at the school. You know, like when you were at the school, like oh, we better do it because the school down the road's doing it. You know, like it's like we
Well,
have.
it's the school. The school is the person. The person. The school is the channel through which the social culture is being drilled into
Distributed.
children's heads,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's being distributed to parents and families. It's not just the kids; it's the families. So we are supporting Red Nose Day. Please, parents, make sure your children are wearing red and white. They can have a nose. You can buy them from Asda down the road. Make sure they bring £1 or as much as they want to bring in as a donation, and we'll collect it for you, and that's it. And we'll send it to Red Nose Day. And at the end of the day, we have an assembly and we celebrate how much money we collected and how beautiful the whole room looks because we're all not wearing uniform, but we have our special Red Nose Day t-shirts and leggings and headbands and face paint and hair paint and whoa!
And does the headmistress at the end of it say, right, we've collected £300 and 50 £5 gets sent to the actual uh, for charity, and the rest of it's spent in organising everything and paying for all this stuff that gets done and everything else. And thank you for not learning today, just spending your time getting completely systemised and brainwashed.
Well, I
Did she
don't
say
think she
that?
did that.
Oh
No.
no, that's the truth,
She
isn't it?
wasn't like Ricky Gervais standing in front of the children.
Well, do you know what? Hey, you know what? If
She
I was,
was wearing a nose herself, or he.
but if that was me, I'd be telling the truth. You know, like with a smile on my face.
Yeah, like Ricky Gervais.
I'd be,
Oh, kids. Oh, how lovely.
so I know you've already enjoyed this day, but guess what? Thanks for your donations. You know, I've got tenner in my pocket. Uh,
But the reason why we're thinking about this in such a way is, like you said earlier, you had this cancer research
well, yeah,
charity walk once.
well, yeah. I mean, someone ending for growth contacted me and said, "Shall we do the London Marathon Walk for cancer research?" And I said, "Yes, seems like a good cause." You know, even my father died of cancer, and basically, I am sympathetic to
Mm.
this issue, right? However, I've got a different understanding to everyone. Well, not everyone else, but a lot of people on, you know, what we can do about it. Like it's not the same as a lot of people, and I know people who've now got it, and they're going through the system, And the choices that we have made available to us, and the understanding of it, means that we're getting even more ill as a result of the treatment. Which, and maybe the other option is just we just gracefully die. I mean, it's not, those options available to us are not particularly good once we're in this situation. But when I was on this walk, and we ended up being 30 miles walking around London in the middle of the night. It was a good experience. I enjoyed it. But when we walked past the cancer research establishment, the offices of the charity, as you know, it's a global charity, I see that they're in a building which probably costs £1 million a year for just the rent. And you say, well, where's all this money we're collecting going then to pay the rent on Euston Road or wherever it was? Why can't they have an office in the middle of nowhere, which is £500 a year, like whatever?
In somebody's back room.
Well, it's a bit too big for that probably these days, but
Well, we
basically,
can spread it into a few rooms then.
distribute the organisation amongst the employees. And this was the other point. It's like, if you've got an office that big, how many people are you paying to inhabit it and do work for the charity? So charities have switched from being people giving their time and energy for free in order to support a cause which is a good thing, to this
Mhm.
is an industry which basically creates jobs. And basically, when you donate money, they've got to pay all the overheads first, which is the people, the offices, the infrastructure,
The
everything
rent,
else,
yeah.
before they get around to paying any money to charity. And in my view, this is legalized begging. Because what you're basically doing is conning people to giving money. Like, how long has cancer research establishment been around? It's been around decades, right? And we're no
Mhm.
closer to solving the problem than we were those when it started, right? What are these people doing with all this money? What are they doing with it? What?
No, they're not doing it. They're giving it to pharma to develop new medicines which actually don't work.
Well, exactly. It's like it's a false pretext, and basically, when we look at this, I have to say, like, millions is being donated without even a thought now, because it's basically, oh, someone I know has got this. I'm going to donate my money to cancer research so they can do nothing for the next 20 years or 30 years.
Well, it's another cancerous thing in our society that needs cutting out.
It's a tax. It's a like a public tax, because you feel bad if you don't do it.
Mm.
And you know, I just find, and when someone says to me now, I work for a charity, rightly or wrongly, I don't look at it and go, oh, well done you. It's like they've got a job in a sector where money is being given through begging only to pay someone's salary. That's not why people
Mm.
donate to the charity. They don't pay to give people a salary. They pay because they believe in what this charity stands for, but they don't understand that most of the money gets filtered out before it even gets anywhere that's going to cause any good things. And somebody mentioned to me a few years back that, oh yeah, but if there was no cancer research, there'd be no money for some of these good causes at all. Like, there'd be no money. Like, they may raise 100 million, and 1 million or 2 million or 5 million goes to these good causes, but without the charity, they wouldn't even get that, right? So I understand. But what it is, it's this this
Mm.
pretext that people are sending money without knowing the facts. And it might be, you just say, oh, well, people go to, these um, self-development things, and they don't end up self-developing. So isn't it the same? They go along, they pay their money, they've been hoodwinked, and they come away, and a year later they're probably even worse than they were when they went. Right now, isn't that crap as well? Yes, it is.
It is. Yeah. It's just the same.
I'm not arguing with you. It is also crap, right? But like, I don't know. I think the world needs to go through a little bit of a metamorphosis, and we need to get a bit real about this stuff. And unfortunately, to get real about these things, we have to go through pain. Like,
Yeah, it hurts.
if somebody hasn't got food and somebody hasn't got good drinking water, and someone's in real desperate states, the most charitable thing is you give them a meal and you give them some
Mm.
water to drink, and you're there to support them in the difficult times. Now, there'd be no money for cancer research, would there, in that situation?
But it's interesting. So when you were saying about you're going to give them, if somebody is struggling, you'd give them a meal, you'd give them a drink, you do that. But what we have actually, this society is very strange. This cultural thing. It's like we're taking this responsibility of us doing the right thing. We're giving the money to someone else to do the right thing.
Yeah, but
Because
basically,
it's too like, I can't be bothered to do this thing. Here's some money. Now go and do this for me because I can't be bothered.
well, and basically it's taking the responsibility of doing charitable things away, because I got some money, I throw at these
Right.
people and I can feel good about myself without actually doing any good. And like, I'm
Mm,
really not interested in what they do with it, because I can say
I've
quite
done it.
publicly that
Mm,
I've supported charity, right? How many of these people sit down by a homeless person and try and understand why that person is sitting down in the street, enduring what most people would think is absolutely shit? However,
mm.
those people won't even look them in the eye. And I've been guilty of that
I'm
myself.
I'm one of these people. I'm not comfortable looking at these people in the eye when they're,
Yeah, but actually, I mean, Brené
yeah.
Brown
It
said,
probably is a good thing to actually work on, maybe.
well, Brené Brown did an absolute thing on this. She said, "Why is it that I'm uncomfortable?" And it's almost like you're uncomfortable that you've got a lot and they've got nothing, and you're now not able to look at yourself properly because you're basically
Mm,
uncomfortable with this situation. Why is it possible these people can be there and you're in your home or whatever, and with plenty, and yet here this person is on the street and you're uncomfortable getting to the root of it? And she does a good session on this, and it's actually very enlightening. I've sat down
mm.
next to these people many times, and I always make a point of looking them in the eye and smiling, because it might be the only smile they see that day. Sometimes I get, sometimes I stop and give them some money. I've done it all over the place, but it is a
Mm.
difficult thing. But you're right, this charity stuff, it's like almost like like a least painful way of supporting things that you would be uncomfortable enduring yourself. And it's, you know,
But we don't do it because we don't want to be involved with our, say, sick relatives or neighbors or friends. It's not because we don't want to be involved with helping them. It's because our life is so busy with everything else we're doing, trying to juggle everything. It's like so many balls in the air that you can't really stop because they're going to start falling down one by one.
but this new way of charity, so to speak, where you're supporting those people you see around you that are in dire straits, not the group. Um,
Humor there.
yeah, just
Humor.
yeah, poor one. But anyway, but self-flagellation always gets a laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, those people around us, if we were to support them in their difficult stages, right, and encourage them, like, I'll help you, all you've got to do is chop some wood or go do this or go do that, and we're helping to build community through conscious choice of, we can all help, in our local community if we can find a way to do that. And it's down to us to do that, but that requires thinking and it requires a bit of effort. Whereas just giving 10 quid, which is, like barely nothing to a charity, they'll be very happy with 10 quid, but just giving them 10 quid, it's like, oh, I've absolved myself of getting involved in this issue now. I don't have
Yeah.
to worry.
I've got a clean consciousness and I can
Exactly.
sleep
It's
at
about a
night.
clean conscience.
Mm.
But if all of society starts to crumble, because as we know now, the banks are in trouble, and it looks like a repeat on steroids of 2007, 2008, and it will affect every single one of us, you know, whether we like it or not. This is being forced upon us due to greedy folk around the world, and here we are. going to probably have to endure some of what we've been talking about ourselves. And actually, we will need community. We will need this circle of people that we've basically built around ourselves, which it's not going to be the same for everybody. You're not going to, like, community has been hijacked as well. People say, "Oh, community. What do you mean by that? Like starting a charity, or do you mean like going out and like helping the old people?" It's like, no, like there are some people that are going to do that. There are some people that are going to help the old people, but like that depends on your situation and whether you feel comfortable doing
And
that.
what is your skills are? Well,
And what your
what is your what you like doing?
some people, it might be helping them to start growing food. I'm not growing the food for them. I'm helping them to start growing their own food, like inspiring people to take some responsibility instead of just wandering down to Aldi or
And
Sainsbury's.
finding there are no tomatoes or cucumbers
Yeah,
like
well,
now.
okay, right, but there were never any cucumbers and tomatoes in England 200 years
This
ago, this time of the year,
this time of year, yeah.
because you can't grow them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so, like, start eating what you have got. Yesterday I cooked a paprikash crumpli, Hungarian dish. Apologies for those who don't know what that is, but basically,
Crumbly is potatoes. I know that word.
now the potatoes were from the allotment. Didn't need any, right? They just were grown, right? Um, and okay, I bought some additional bits to go with it, but the whole dish is basically paprika, which I got in Hungary, and potatoes and water and a bit of flavouring, bit of salt,
And
bit of
some
it.
onion, baby.
Yeah, one
Which we also grew. We just didn't grow enough. And we ran out. We
yeah.
finished it.
But like, but basically eating things that we grow and when we've got and what we can store. Like we're probably I've run out of those potatoes now, but I've got some in the freezer. But like, okay, potatoes are not ready to be harvested. They won't be for a while. They're just about ready to go in, and 100 days later, you got some potatoes. But it's it's like trying to survive on what you can, or not survive, but enjoy actually being responsible for your food as well. Is something that I think people will be inspired to do. Lots of people have
Mm,
got
yeah.
gardens that are not being used for anything really. Um, Learn a few tricks and go and grow some things. You can grow potatoes in buckets, in bags, in whatever. There's no reason why anybody can't do it unless you're living in a flat with no space, i.e., me. But
Well,
nevertheless,
we are digressing from the topic of humor. So, humor, and we went a little bit astray with charities. Maybe you tell us what you think about charities. Maybe you know a charity that is different. But I was thinking, every year when we go sit down, well, I used to before, now I don't. Sit down and watch the Comic Relief or Children in Need or any of those special productions on the BBC. They used to constantly tell you the total the sum total of all the charity collections, how much money was raised. Every 30 minutes there will be another. Oh, let's check on the total. Oh, let's check on the total. I'm wondering if this year, with everything else that's going on with people's salaries getting, people losing their jobs and all of that,
while inflating away their value.
and food growing up in price, how much. And every year, by the way, as well, there was this, oh, we've raised a lot more than last year it was this much, and this year is like another
I think I
two
think
3 million on
I
top.
think the past 5 years, by the way, the number has never gone back to the giddy heights of earlier. I think it's stopped. Like it's like,
Well, I don't I haven't seen it for
no, it's
two
just a
years or
slight
so,
burst.
but when I was still watching it when I was still at school, every year it was more and more. So it's curious to see whether it's just numbers that they're making up, because it's the BBC. They can do whatever they want on this electronic screen that they were showing how the numbers were returning and stopping on there's the number now. They can always make these numbers up.
Yeah, but I think you're right. These things, like, I think the whole trust in the BBC and their ability to even run something like a like non non-propaganda type show are coming to an end. I mean, it's a single message, and it's not open for investigation or
Hmm.
alternatives. So, but anyway, yeah, like you say, tell us what you think if you've enjoyed this rather
We started on a lovely note, and then we stopped on finished on
yeah.
a bit of a cynical note.
Well, it's not cynical. It's like observing, isn't it? It's like Ricky Gervais. He observes what's going on, whether it's directly or otherwise, and then he reflects it back on the people who find it amusing because
Yeah.
many a truth spoken in jest. If you think that this has been a bit contentious, what we're talking about with charities, just look about you and make your own mind up. Mine was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when I was walking past this cancer research. It's like it dawned on me this was an experience, an observational experience, that something's not right here, and the whole charity sector is basically guilty of this, and it's not a good look. And I think it's ready for a shakeout. It's just creating
Mm.
jobs and getting them off the jobless list. But people are donating money to do that. It's legalised begging that the government have endorsed. And if someone's running a charity right now, I think you're just looking for free money.
And they have all these additional governmental enforced, like you said, government supported begging, but they have these different rules counter charities to normal people for
And
when it comes to business.
yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you one more thing. Like we've done this, I think. I don't know whether we've done it. I think what happens if you ask for money? If you beg for money in the current scenario where you're a charity, guess what? You get the money. You probably get the money if the cause is good enough and they support you and you're running it according to their rules. But guess what? That money comes with, you have to report what you've done with it, what the results have been, blah blah blah. Which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there's a straightforward way of doing that, and they're basically saying you can have our money, but you've got to do what we say. And in the end, it's like if you're trying to do something good for the community, surely that depends on what the community think. And you'll get supported if they like it, right? Not if you're a great person, not if you're some kind of hero, but if the project is valid, they will come along and support it, not with money, with people and time
Yeah,
and energy, and ensure that the good work that you're doing, maybe keeping in contact with old people who don't get any visitors and never see a soul from one week to the next. Maybe all it is just you've got 5 people, you knock on their door and you check if they're okay. That is a community project. Doesn't need funding, doesn't need anybody, but it makes people's lives better. That I would support.
right. Excellent. Well, if you like what we're talking about here, or maybe if you don't like what we talk here, but you're kind of curious about the next controversial opinion we can share, please do subscribe, hit the button.
Yeah.
The bell will notify you when we've uploaded the next episode. And maybe share it.
Mm,
Share it with your friends.
could be worse. Okay, bye for now.
Bye.